Hey guys, Easy Amateur Radio here, and we're back with another quick one for you today. So today, we're going to talk about what's the difference between a 10-meter radio and just a CB radio. A lot of people get these confused. You can see listing on eBay, it'll say 10-meter radio, but people use them on CB. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So what we got up top is a classic Cobra 29. This is the go-to radio. If you think of a CB radio, this is what you think of. I can almost guarantee that there are more Cobra 29s out there than any other CB radio ever sold. Maybe Cobra 19s, but I doubt it. And below is kind of a rare radio, a radio that I haven't seen a lot of. It's a Superstar 121. This is a 10-meter radio, and we're going to talk about the differences. So first, let's talk about the similarities. You can see that they're pretty similar in size. This is an older radio, so the microphone jack is over here on the side. This is a newer Cobra. I think it's a 2014 model when I had it opened up. So you got the 4-pin mic on the front. You can see similar volume and squelch. Here's your squelch. Here's your volume on the Cobra. Very similar meters. This is just the classic, what I would call Cobra meter. We have RF on the meter, SWR, and a calibration switch. Same thing up here, RF, SWR, calibration. This is to check your SWRs from the radio, but I do recommend an external speaker. So next up we have what Cobra calls their Dynamic. They've always called it this. This is actually just your mic gain right here. We can jump down here, boom, mic gain. Similar, right? Next we have RF gain. Here we got the RF gain on both of them, actually in the same position. So what these faces on these radios are probably pretty close to the same, if not the same. I could probably swap these out, and other than the labels, everything would be correct. So next we got our Delta Tune on the Cobra. So what's interesting about Delta Tune is that it's not really used a lot anymore. It's more for tuning in if you're a little off frequency, and a lot of your older radios drifted, but modern radios typically got that fixed, and then your SWR calibration. Down here, SWR calibration, but you can see this is different than the Cobra. So now we're gonna get to what's different. So you see this low, mid, and high where the SWR calibration is on the Cobra. Now this is what makes it a 10-meter radio. So you have 40 channels, 40 channels on the big knob. So that's 40 on the low, 40 on the mid, 40 on the high. So that comes to 120 channels. So what that is different banks of the 10-meter portion. Calling this a 10-meter amateur radio is how they get it inside the U.S. past FCC rules and regulations. However, it does not meet the Citizens Band type accepted radios like this Cobra is. So for this radio, the mid is the US. If you have an Anytone, a Connex, a Galaxy, a Texas Ranger, anything like that, typically those on the band knob is going to be A, B, C, and D. And what you're going to do, typically the US band is the D. Sometimes I have a sticker on the radio telling you what it is. And you can see up here we have a channel 9, channel 19, or normal switch. We have an AM, FM switch right here. This is another way they got around it. If you want to do 10-meter FM work on amateurs, this radio technically should be able to do it, but nobody really uses it for that. It's mainly for CB. And then nowadays, a modern Cobra, you would push in the channel selector, and that would put it in AM or FM mode, because now it's legal in 2025. But the biggest differences between these radios aren't the size. You can see that they're the same size in any circumstances, the same number of knobs. If this was a Philippines made side mic Cobra 29, it would have the volume knob and the squelch separate like down here. But the power output's different too. You get big watts on a 10-meter radio on high and low mode. On low, this radio swings to about 25 watts compared to the 4 watts that the Cobra is supposed to put out. Now this Cobra does swing to about 20 watts. It has been peaked and tuned. Then on high, you get to about 35, 40 watts on the 10-meter radio. So your 10-meter radios are going to be more powerful. Typically, I've seen them, some Texas Rangers, you can get 200 watts out the back of them, no problem. So if you get a 10 meter radio, you're going to be a pretty big talker on CB. But if you want just something simple and classic and something that works all the time, not saying that this Texas Star or this Superstar isn't very tough, but this Cobra 29 probably one of the toughest radios out there. But that's it, guys. Easy Amateur Radio here, just showing you the differences between a 10 meter radio and a CB radio. So 73s.